Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The mayor of the Włochy district of Warsaw, who has been closely associated with the opposition Civic Platform Party for many years, Artur W., and the Turkish developer Sabri B., have been arrested for corruption and placed on remand for 3 months. This decision was issued today by the district court for the Warsaw-Mokotów area. According to investigative journalists, the decision may only be the tip of the iceberg.
The prosecutor's office accuses the former Civic Platform politician of accepting financial benefits from Turkish businessman Sabri B., a former owner of the Pogoń Szczecin football club. Both suspects refused to explain themselves and pleaded not guilty. This week, the Central Anti-Corruption Bureau searched the mayor's office as well as Sabri B.'s headquarters and secured possible evidence in the case. It's not a secret that these are not the only investments related to Opushanka Street, which was discussed when we were talking about Sabri B., the man who was supposed to throw this famous bribe out of the window of Artur W.'s car. But we're talking about other investments. We're also talking about the Warsaw developer who rented a luxury car to the mayor of the Warsaw-Włochy district. It seems that this issue will probably be the second part, but will it be the last one? I doubt it. There are a lot of connections that lead to many local government officials, thanks to Artur W. According to the editor-in-chief of Telewizja Republika, Dorota Kania, Artur W. held senior positions thanks to the Civic Platform Party in the past. In 2011, he managed the state-owned company Nafto, but he was also the deputy mayor of Bilany and Wola before he became the mayor of Włochy. After the information about Artur W.'s detention became public, quite a lot of panic took control of the Civic Platform Party. They wanted to get rid of Artur W. very quickly and cut themselves off from him. Why? Because this case may be the beginning of a gigantic scandal. Sabri B. was the chairman of the Pogoń Szczecin football club from 1999 to 2002. His misunderstandings with the city authorities caused the sponsor's withdrawal from the club in 2002. This businessman came to Szczecin to build a shopping center. His idea was to take over the Pogoń Szczecin football club, but in fact he wanted to take over 18 acres of land on Twardowski Street in Szczecin. He wanted to build a huge shopping center. The money from the center was supposed to finance the football club, but this didn't happen because the city didn't get along with Sabri B. The Central Anti-Corruption Bureau caught the man red-handed on Tuesday after Sabri B. gave money to the mayor, Artur W. According to the bureau, Artur W. took 200,000 zloty from a well-known developer and tried to hide the cash in a family-owned garage. The bureau also said that in exchange for bribes, the mayor of Włochy issued administrative decisions favorable to the developer.
The Advocate General at the European Court of Justice, Eleanor Sharpston, said today that Poland, the Czech Republic and Hungary had violated European Union regulations by refusing to take part in the migrant relocation programme in 2015. The Advocate General's opinion may play a vital role in the verdict of the court to be given in a few months, even though the European Union withdrew from the original relocation programme in 2017.
Polska, Czechy I Węgry złamały unijne prawo, nie godząc się na przyjmowanie uchodźców w ramach...
In 2015, Poland refused to take part in the migrant relocation program, fearing for the safety of its citizens as a result of uncontrolled immigration. According to the European Commission, which filed a lawsuit against Poland, Hungary and Czech Republic in the European Court of Justice, the three countries not only broke the law but also violated the EU rule of unity. However, a spokesman for the Polish government said that Poland's refusal has a legal basis in the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union, which states that the internal affairs and matters of public security are decided on by the individual member states.
To nie jest tak, że Polska nie wykazywała żadnej solidarności, wręcz przeciwnie.
It's not as though Poland hasn't shown any solidarity. It's actually the opposite. We welcomed many political refugees who had to run to our country in fear of their lives and well-being. This wasn't taken into account by the court's Advocate General.
Po prostu skorzystali z możliwości przyjazdu na teren Rzeczypospolitej.
Jak podkreślają przedstawiciele rządu...
Polish government officials stressed that almost none of the EU member states fulfill their obligation to meet the relocation quotas entirely, and said that the lawsuit against only Poland, Hungary and Czech Republic is yet further proof of unequal treatment by the EU.
Today is the 94th anniversary of the establishing of Warsaw's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The traditional ceremony to commemorate the establishment of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier is to lay flowers at the memorial plaque dedicated to Jadwiga Zarogwiec, the symbolic mother of the unknown soldier and defender of Lvov, who died 101 years ago and is buried at the tomb.
Łączy nas dzisiaj pamięć i wdzięczność wobec.
Today we are united by historic memory and indebtedness to the dozens of generations of Polish soldiers and knights. They were always ready to face the enemy and fight for the motherland. We bow our heads low as a gesture of homage to those who had always the courage to defend Poland. We bow our heads low to the unknown soldier buried here 101 years ago, a defender of Lviv in the year 1918. His grave, used as a symbol for all unknown soldiers killed in action while defending the honor and independence of our Republic of Poland. We remember today those soldiers from Cedynia, knights from Płowce, Grunwald, from Kirchholm, Kłuszyn and Olsza, and those who throughout almost 1.5 centuries were fighting for Poland to return to independent statehood, to be back on the map. Starting from the Basque Confederation, soldiers of General Tadeusz Kościuszko, fighters in the November and January uprisings of 1830 and 1864, Piłsudski's legions, soldiers of the Polish Fighters Organization, and those who defended Poland in 1920. We remember all those soldiers of the Second World War, September 1939 campaign, the Underground Home Army, and all those fighting on all fronts in 1945. They have been proving that there is no free Europe, no free world, without a free Poland.
Poczynając od konfederatów barskich, poprzez żołnierzy naczelnika Tadeusza Kościuszki.
The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, today met NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg in Kiev. The two leaders were cautiously optimistic about the withdrawal of troops from the front line separating the Ukrainian army and Russian-backed separatists in Donbass in eastern Ukraine, which began this week.
The Ukrainian army and Russian-backed rebel forces began a phased troop withdrawal in the eastern town of Zolote this week, part of a series of measures to halt a conflict that has killed more than 13,000 people in the last 5 years. The Ukrainian president stated that Ukraine plans to start a withdrawal from the town of Petrivske, provided there are no ceasefire violations in the area. If the situation is secure in Petrivske for the week, as you know, there must be 7 days of ceasefire. Then we will have to start withdrawal in Petrivske on November 4th, if I am not mistaken. That is why I see no doubt that the meeting in the Normandy format will take place if all parties are committed to it and want to meet in the Normandy format, because the result is an agreement on the end of the war. Jens Stoltenberg earlier visited the city of Odessa, where he stated that NATO hopes that the troop withdrawals are the start of a peaceful resolution to the war.
We welcome all efforts to reduce tensions, to withdraw forces, and to make sure that we have a peaceful resolution to the conflict in eastern Ukraine. But of course, NATO also states very clearly that Russia has a special responsibility to implement the Minsk agreements, and that they must withdraw all their troops, all their officers from eastern Ukraine, and stop destabilizing eastern Ukraine.
Zelensky's decision to start withdrawing troops from the front is, however, seen as treason by some Ukrainians who gathered in Kiev to protest against the move. I am here today for Ukraine, to remain Ukraine. I came here today for the sake of my son. I want him to have a country of his own language, his own Ukrainian authority, and for Ukraine to remain worthy and honorable country, not the state Putin would wipe the floor with. Despite some progress being made by the two sides on the issue of the Donbas region, the positions on Crimea remain locked. The peninsula was annexed from Ukraine by the Russian Federation after a swift military operation in late February and early March 2014.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.
Hello, and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. The forecast for tonight calls for clear and partly cloudy skies throughout the country. The temperatures will drop below zero. In Rzeszów and Katowice we can expect a low of -5 degrees, while the warmest spot on the map will be Gdańsk at 4 degrees above zero. Tomorrow we can expect cloudy skies on the seacoast. Gdańsk and Koszalin will see a high of 7 degrees. The rest of the country can expect partly cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 0 in Białystok to 9 degrees in Rzeszów and Kraków. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I invite you to stay with us and to join us later on for Poland Daily Business.
Poland Daily Business Edition, and tonight we will train ourselves in a strategic thinking. There is a book, I got it here, Chess Master Strategy in Business, written by Michał Kanarkiewicz, and what a surprise, the author is here at our studio. Sir, welcome to the show.
Welcome, thank you.
And you say in that book that skills that we get from the playing chess can help us in life and including business.
Yeah, that's true. I wrote the whole book about that, how to turn, for example, tactical operations into strategic thinking, because I really believe that you can take this from chess into business, and it is quite important.
Okay. To me, the things that are significantly different in chess and in life and in business are rules. In chess we have very strict rules. We have to move our pawns as they are moving. There's no way to change them. But in the real life and in business, the rules are not as clear as it seems in chess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. In chess, the rules are really clear, yeah, and in business it is not like that. But still, you can learn and use planning ahead. You can consider about making some plans. You can take from chess also about tactics and strategy, the difference between strategy and tactics. So I would say that the chess is one of the options that you can take and choose to translate into business, yeah, something like that.
The training is in the thinking about your operations, thinking about your plans?
Yeah, because nowadays I think it's very important to making a plans. I mean, by saying that, I mean, as for me, as I can see that many clients of mine, they are not doing plans. I mean, I don't see a plans that they have. And when we start our cooperation, then we start at the very beginning with principles like, yeah, making a plans. That's really simple, but it is very important to start with plans. And also, it's very important to make a plans that follow some moves ahead. And there is also a very well-known book from US, I guess, 3 Moves Ahead. It's also about chess strategies, and I really believe that if you plan a few moves ahead, then you can win on the area of business or life. As you wish, of course.
Okay. The strategy is one thing, the implementation is another.
Yeah.
And what if our strategy, even brilliant, encounters problems, encounters surprises?
Yeah, the only thing you know about strategy is that you will have to change it throughout the life. So the thing you should know about strategy is that you will not succeed that with 100%. Maybe it will be about 60 or 70% of that plan, but it's still better than using only tactics. And I really believe that we should focus ourselves on creating strategies, and even if it's only 60 or 70% of that plan we will do, then it's still better than 0% of any strategy, in my opinion, of course.
Okay. I was when I had my business training, I've learned that the not making a decision is also a decision.
Yeah.
Do nothing. Like, what will we do in this situation or in that. We will do nothing. We will wait and see how it will develop.
Yeah, but it is also a decision, like you said, and also this is a strategy. If you wait for a move from your opponent or any other player on the market, then it's still a decision. So you should know that no decision is a decision at all. Yeah, as you said.
You spoke to the champion masters in that book, the people who achieved a high level of their professional development. What do they have in common?
Let's say, as for me, of course, chess players and also business people, they have much in common. For example, I will repeat it, but it's about planning ahead, about concentration, about focus, all those principles, just principles, but you have to focus on it and you have to repeat it very often, because people in 21st century, very often they forget about this.
So how did you come up with the idea of implementing this and making this into your training business?
Well, this is like blue ocean strategy, and I had a thought that I should come up with a plan to making something different than others in the market of workshops and trainings, and also about motivational speeches. So I came up with that plan about talking about strategies of great chess grandmasters. And there is no other speaker or trainer who is talking about that except Garry Kasparov. So there are two people around the world who are talking about this, and this is Garry Kasparov and me. So nice.
That's very good companion, and that's everything is about being in a good companion. Michał Kanarkiewicz, author of the book Chess Master Strategy in Business. I hope you are a little bit more motivated after that meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I certainly am. And that was it for tonight's Poland Daily Business.
Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily Business Weather. The forecast for tomorrow will bring a fair autumn day to Poland. We can expect cloudy skies on the seacoast and temperatures of 7 degrees in Koszalin and Gdańsk. The rest of the country can expect partly cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 0 degrees in Białystok to 9 degrees in Rzeszów and Katowice. In Europe, we can expect a high chance of showers and sleet in Moscow. Dublin, London, Paris, Bern, and Ankara will see rain and temperatures varying from 12 to 16 degrees. Oslo, Stockholm, Minsk, Vilnius, Sofia, and Lisbon will see cloudy skies and temperatures varying from 2 to 20 degrees. The rest of the continent will see partly cloudy skies and temperatures of 3 to 20 degrees. That is all for now. I thank you for joining us, and I wish you all a very pleasant evening.
Good day, everyone. My name is Maria Kądzielska, and this is Poland Daily Culture. Have you ever wanted to meet a real prince? Our today's guest, Jan Lyubomirsky, is the one. Thank you for being with us.
It's a big pleasure for me. Thank you.
Now he is organizing a great Lyubomirsky music festival. At first, let's see some shots of this event. You're just about to start Lyubomirsky Music Festival, and considering the fact that almost all the tickets in 5 cities are completely free, and everyone who would like to attend just should go to places like Philharmonic or even your website, I understand, online, and just to book them. So we talk here about a cultural patronage, which of course the Lyubomirsky Foundation has, Lyubomirsky family has back in the history, coming back, for example, to your great-grandfather Władysław. But since it's a thing which died during at least last century, you're reviving it back again. Is it needed?
Last 60 years.
Last 60 years,
it's
that's
much
true.
shorter, I would say. But this is true. Actually, the family has about 500 years of, I would say, charity work. Because the oldest, which we can trace, foundations of the family, this were done around Małopolska, which was you can call it like a shelter for people who don't have money and who are poor, and also by creating churches, by creating this kind of places where you worship God. So not only churches but also some chapels, and so this we can trace around 500 years. But later, mostly in the 19th century, it started to have like a quite modern idea of charity. So in the 19th century, my family started to really create schools, create hospitals. For example, very famous places like the Kraków Economic University was created by Alexander Lyubomirsky, and also Łagiewniki, if you know the place where the Pope was so happy to go, and Faustina was also living there. So this was created also by Alexander Lyubomirsky. Many other churches, many other places were created until the Second World War, when unfortunately the communists arrived to Poland and they said, finish. We have enough of your charity. We have enough of your charity. We just do it ourselves. But in truth, like for about 60 years, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't even, like, my father couldn't go to study. After like 5 exams to different schools, he was finally led to do some studies. So this was incredible. Many members of the family were killed. Many had to emigrate. The brother of my grandfather was the educap of General Anders, so he was like one of the worst enemies of the state. He had to stay in England. And then in the 90s, we started to recreate some of the ideas of the family by making charity balls in our castle in Wiśnicz, which really helped quite a lot of people. We managed even to buy special for 500,000 of Polish zloty. We managed to buy special equipment for the Kraków Prokocim hospital for the children. And these were the beginnings. And then my father decided to create the foundation, which I'm the president of. And now we have almost 10 years of the Princess Lyubomirsky Foundation. And this was the idea, more or less, to create in different directions our charity involvement. So this is not only in the direction of music, because somebody could think like this. We do a lot of other things, for example, scholarships. We are cooperating with the Kraków University, Economics University, and we are bringing young Polish people with Polish roots from Ukraine, from the old Kresy Polskie, back to Poland, and they can study in Poland. So we are financing this. Then we are doing also some scholarships for the Podkarpackie województwo, for young people also musicians in this. We are helping some hospitals. We are buying equipment for the hospitals. Recently we were painting also some of the hospitals. You cannot imagine how they look like sometimes in Poland. This is amazing. So we do also the part which is connected with medical direction. And the third one, this is Polish heritage. So we try also to give money and to help some of the buildings, to renovate them, some of the churches which were once built by the family. We are giving now the money to renovate them again.
And now the culture.
And now the culture, yes.
And now you start a festival, or actually it's second year already of Lyubomirsky Music Festival.
Yes.
And all the tickets are, as we said, free. And everyone who would like to listen to music and learn about it is just able to book them anywhere. So I wanted to start a topic of this cultural patronage, because we are usually before in the centuries, it was always like this, that the artists were supported by someone.
Yes, now it's actually the Polish state is helping quite a lot the artists, but it's always good that there are private sponsors and people of like backgrounds, which is, for example, business, who are helping artists, and it's going on in Poland. I must say that I can see it. But of course, as much as it's possible, we should push this idea, because it's not always easy for a young person or young artist to arrive to the Ministry of Culture and get some possibilities. It's sometimes very often that people from small cities, from small villages, they don't have this possibility, they don't have this idea how to do it even. So it's very good that the local sponsors are helping. And it's very often happening. I must say that I'm traveling quite a lot in Poland, and I can see that the local businessmen are starting to be not only businessmen, but also cultural sponsors. And I am very, very happy about this. And this festival is kind of a reminder about this kind of mecenat. Of course, before the Second World War and before the First World War, when my great-grandfather was organizing his sponsorship to people like Rubinstein, like Szymanowski, this was a time when the aristocratic families had a lot of money and they could do it. But also it was already the time when families like Cronenberg, which is a famous Polish banker family, were starting their sponsorship. So I must urge, and I would like also to do it now through this program, to tell that we should really, all of us, support the Polish culture.
Everyone who would like to participate in Polish culture, we encourage you to book the ticket for Lyubomirsky Music Festival in 5 cities, in Warsaw, in Krakow, in Lviv, in Lublin, and in Wantut, and go and visit the concerts. And thank you for watching Poland Daily Culture.
Ryszard Gromacki, Piotr Dmitrowicz, welcome to the show. Over 76 years ago, on January 26, 1943, Bishop Michał Kozal was murdered in the Dachau concentration camp. The bishop, who after many years, after over 40 years, was beatified by the Polish Pope John Paul II, is an extraordinary figure. I know it sounds very banal, but it was a character who was a luminous example for other priests who were imprisoned in Dachau, and let us remind you that it was a place of execution, a place of martyrdom of thousands of Polish clergy during World War II.
Myślę, że jeżeli mówimy właśnie o martyrologii polskich duchownych mordowanych przez Niemców, to Dachau jest...
I think that if we talk about the martyrdom of Polish clergy murdered by Germans, Dachau is the symbol of that. The first and oldest concentration camp, the one that was established shortly after Hitler came to power, back in 1933.
Raczej trzeba by było powiedzieć, przewinęło się ponad 250 000 ludzi.
It is estimated that over 250,000 people passed through its walls and barracks. How many were murdered, how many were burned in crematoria, we do not know the exact figures, but certainly tens of thousands. I'm talking about it because Dachau was, to put it bluntly, a testing ground, which is also worth remembering. It was a place where later most of the criminals, head of other concentration camps, such as KL Auschwitz, were practicing there. According to Polish historians, over 1,700 priests were starved lynched and murdered in Dachau, and nearly 3,000 were imprisoned there.
Zostało zagłodzonych, zamordowanych, zabitych w Dachau, a blisko 3,000 tam było więzionych i biskup Kozal.
Bishop Kozal, all his life was a support for other young priests who went there, whether from his diocese or from others. I emphasize his diocese because just before the outbreak of war in August 1939, he became an auxiliary bishop at the Włocławek diocese.
Tego roku został biskupem pomocniczym diecezji włocławskiej i to jest o tyle, myślę, ważne i charakterystyczne, że...
This is important and characteristic because the later primate Stefan Wyszyński graduated from the seminary in Włocławek, of course earlier, back in 1924. It was quite symptomatic that the vast majority of colleagues and friends from Stefan Wyszyński's seminary were killed in Dachau.
Kolegów, przyjaciół z seminarium Stefana Wyszyńskiego zginęła w Dachau i on przez całe życie o tym pamiętał, nosił...
He remembered it all his life. He carried the memory of them throughout his life. Not so long ago, I was looking through the pictures shown to me by Dr. Anna Jakocińska from the Institute for National Remembrance, an excellent historian, an expert on this subject. These are shocking photos of, for example, young men from 1939, clerics smiling full of life, and later the same men in 1943 or 1944, those who survived. They were human wrecks. Dachau was a really monstrous camp. People there were not only starved, not only beaten, not only killed off, because Bishop Kozak fell ill with typhus and was simply killed off with an injection of phenol, but the priests there were humiliated. Prayers were forbidden, and the possession of the rosary was punishable by death at certain times. It was hell. The point was to question their faith.
W 1945 roku tam doszło do masakry. Amerykanie wymordowali część obsługi tego obozu.
When the Americans entered there in 1945, there was a massacre. The Americans murdered part of the camp staff because they were simply shocked by what they saw. Imagine that as they entered the camp, they found piles of over 7,000 corpses, which the Germans did not manage to burn. That he was such a spiritual support, an example of steadfastness for all those prisoners in captivity, but he also conveyed spiritual encouragement to persist, not to give up. He spent nearly 3 years in the Dachau camp. He was arrested in 1940. After a few months of the investigation, he was sent to the camp, and for these 3 years he was the figure around whom those priests who had come to this hell gathered. Those who survived Dachau, those who later cultivated the memory of it, remember Bishop Kozal as the person who gave them the strength to survive. We said that in 1987, during the third pilgrimage to Poland, John Paul II beatified Bishop Kozal. Has the canonization process been undertaken at all?
W jakiej fazie i czy w ogóle został podjęty proces kanonizacyjny?
We are working on it. I will, however, refer to the year 1987 because it is characteristic. It was the time of the end of martial law, not formally, but that is how we refer to that time. During that pilgrimage, John Paul II said these words about Bishop Kozal: "Let him be another patron of our hard times, full of tension and hostility and conflicts." I think that these words are very important and relevant. A character who had a unique gift of reconciliation. Thank you, Piotr, and thank you to our viewers. Good night.
Worth adding a stop to the Perła Brewery Museum when you're in Lublin. Founded in 1844 in the abandoned ruins of a monastery, it began brewing in 1846. The original beer was a Bavarian lager style. The Beer Museum tour is a fascinating look at the way beer is made. You'll travel through the old brewery, which was still making beer into the early 2000s. Perła, or pearl beer, is one of Lubelski's finest products, and certainly one of its most revered. Lubelski hops are famous throughout Europe, and they seem to give the beer a true taste of Lubelska province. Let the tour begin.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Poland Daily Travel. This time, we are still in the fantastic province, and I mean amazing province, of Lubelska in southeast Poland, about 2.5 hours drive from beautiful downtown Warsaw. We're standing here in Lublin in the Perła Brewery.
Exactly.
Perła.
Browary. Perła, browary lubelskie.
Right.
Exactly.
And our guide on this tour of what is essentially still the way the working brewery looked. It's not actually a museum, it's more of an, can we say, a living exposition, if you will. Is that okay?
Yes,
does that make sense?
Exactly.
Okay.
It does.
All right, okay. And this is our guide. Her name is Ewa Bielecka, because Bielecka, of course, in Polish, Bielecka, Bielecki, if she was a guy, but she's obviously not.
Of course. Bielecki is my husband. Come on.
Bielecki is your husband. There you are. Okay, so what are we looking at here, Ewa?
We're finding ourselves now in old brewing house, which used to be heart of this brewery. What does it mean? Whole production process was starting here.
Right in this room. Yeah.
Right in this place, yes. So we have few main vats surrounding us here. We have mash vat, we have filtration vat, and we have this brewing vat. And all of them, yes. Oh, we're boiling brew here, and we're adding hops to the brew.
This, yeah.
Yes.
The magic hops of Lubelska.
Of course, the best hops
special.
in Poland and in Europe, I think.
Right, that's what they say. I've heard that said many
Yes,
times. Yeah.
not only in Europe, but
Yeah.
it's famous. It's really famous.
Right.
Yes. Also, this building is pretty amazing because it was found by the Fetters family, the family who found whole brewery.
Right, and where were they from?
They were from Poznań.
Right.
But Karol Fetter,
right.
who was the head,
the author of
this
the beer,
family,
yeah.
yes, he came here from Poznań. And in age about 30, he decided to open his own brewery here in Lublin.
He was ambitious.
He was very ambitious because he wasn't from, he was born in a very poor family, but he was very ambitious and very hardworking man. So after, many years of hard working, he decided to open his own enterprise here in Lublin, and he stayed here. And I need to say that Fetters family did a lot of good things for our town as well. They were a very prominent, very famous family in Lublin, so they did a lot of good things.
So the tradition sort of has continued to today.
Yes, of course.
With contribution to the community.
Of course, they found brewery, but they also found a first trade school, yes, trade school. Yes, trade school in our town, and that was first school in Russian part of Poland, because we
first trade school in the Russian. This was in the partitions. This was Russia.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So, but
what years are we talking about?
It was
1850s, wasn't it?
No. That was later. That was on the beginning of the 20th century.
Oh, you mean when that happened?
Yes.
But the brewery was founded
in
much earlier.
1846. We start to brew beer here. So yes, that's why this place is so important for us, because that's a still good piece of industrial architecture here in Lublin, and it's very authentic. So
and part of the community.
That's why of course.
A long time. It's a big employer in this part of the world, isn't it? The brewery. Employs quite a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yes, quite. Yes, it's quite popular because we have almost 98% of Polish hops
is from our region,
Yeah.
so that's why people are earning money, and
Yeah,
yes,
so
that's a very part of
the farmers
our
are earning
industry.
money.
Yes,
The brewers,
yes.
the people who work with the brewery,
Like us,
are making money.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
so it's a quite big part of our industrial.
Very good. Okay, stay tuned. After this bumper, we'll be right back with more from the Perła Brewery in beautiful downtown Lublin, Poland. So we're back after that short bumper, and here we are. We've come underground, and this is where our real tour begins of the old facilities of the brewery, which were in use until
2004 even, yes?
Yeah, for a very, very long
time, for over 150 years, so it's like without any disturbings. So this brewery never been closed since 1846 till 2004. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Listen to the music that we're hearing, the singing.
Yes, the monks.
Why are we hearing monks singing here? Must be a reason.
Yes, because the history of this place dates back to the 17th century in real. In 17th century, this area was belonging to the Polish lady. Her name was Helena. Helena z Prusinowskich Sapieżyna. Easy one.
Yeah, I could say that 7 times fast, and I'll have to go immediately to the crazy farm. Go ahead.
Helena z Prusinowskich Sapieżyna.
Helena Prusinowskich Sapieżyna. Was that even close?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Ooh. It's quite good.
Maybe there's hope for me yet.
Yes, I think it is.
So she was in charge. She owned this land.
Yes, she has a palace with gardens here.
Yeah. What years are we talking about?
About 1650s, 60s. So it's like
okay. Yeah.
In a half of 17th century, and but in 1660 she decided to donate this area to the Reformed fathers who came at this time to our town. She said, "Okay, you can stay here. You can build up your monastery, your church. I'm leaving that to you." Yes, and they did that.
Yeah.
And they did that, of course.
Okay.
And
so we're in underneath the foundations of an old monastery, a church building.
Yes, this place is situated just under the former church, St. Kazimierz Church.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's why they still singing here.
Yeah, I can hear
for
them.
us. Yeah,
that's amazing.
They with their souls here, but not with their bodies.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, I hope not.
Yes, me too. No,
so,
in real, yes.
What else do we have here then? Eva, we've got over here some models, right?
Yes.
And that would show us the growth.
Of course. So on the first model we can see initial period. So it's like from 17th century. We can see there's a church already here, and we have also small monastery buildings. Second model shows us how did it look in 19th century. In this shape, probably Karol Vetter purchased these buildings in
All right, so Mr. Vetter, who's really started the brewery.
Yes,
in 1844.
Yes, he purchased these buildings, but I need to say that in just 2 years, he rebuilt this building.
Converted it for a brewery.
In such a way as to be able,
Because as we said, he was 30-year-old ambitious
30,
guy
yes.
in his early 30s.
Yeah, so...
Okay, we could all learn from that, right?
Of course.
And what about the last one over
The
there?
last, we can see how does it look now. So we have 16 buildings, 2 courtyards, and we're gonna be, we will be situated under the second courtyard. I tell you where. But now we have this shape of the church between new buildings. You can still see it.
I can see it.
Yes,
it's
yes.
very good.
It just, but it's just a shape. Yeah, it's not a church from inside.
Okay, very good. Eva, thank you. Okay, stick with us. We'll be back with more of Eva, our fantastic guide, Eva Bilecka, on our journey underground through what is fascinating, the Perła Brewery here in beautiful downtown Lublin. Watch the next episode for more from here.